when you set up a business, you wear all the hats. I had all different email addresses. I had like accounts at Wipe. I mean, all of them were me. I was applying to everything. I was the accountant, the project manager, the designer, everything. And then when you can start to offload those hats to other people and hire people who are actually better than you at all of those skills, that's when the magic really starts to happen.
Kelly, the founder and director of White Bear. She's had a great career in global agencies in marketing. Super excited to meet her because this is our first time meeting in person. I believe she's got a great story. She's got 2 children. She is living between England and Ireland, flying globally for clients. And it's going to be a really interesting dig into her journey, how she got here, and try and find out some of those lessons and skills along the way. Welcome, Kelly. Lovely to have you here.
Thank you. Lovely to be here, Lucy.
Thanks for joining Gary and I. Is there anything you regret not doing due to fear?
Oh, wow. You really went in deep.
We're going in.
God, wow. Okay. Anything I regret not doing?
Due to fear.
Due to fear. Do you know what? I think I'm actually going to say no, but I think I regret not saying no to things. I think I say yes to everything in fear of not taking every opportunity that comes. So I have a bit of a mantra of, I'll show up to the opening of an envelope. I'm a businesswoman. I must do everything. So I always say yes. And I actually feel that I have regrets around times I actually should have said no. So a bit of a flip to your
Well, I suppose it's a fear of missing out. You got FOMO. That is a
there
fear.
You go.
There you go. I hear the fear.
That is a fear.
I think building on that, so I suppose in your business journey, using that as a side, did that give you burnout? What was the cause of how did you get to where we are today?
Yeah, 100%. I think I've had burnout many's a time. I think I'm actually probably going through it at the minute. And I think as a woman or as a person owning a business, we constantly feel that need to hustle, don't we? And keep going, always say yes, really hard on ourselves. That inner voice never stops saying, you're not enough, you should do more, you should do more, comparing, despairing, etc. So yes, will I tell you a little bit about maybe
I'd love
the
to hear
story?
I'd love to hear your story. Let's start at the beginning.
Okay, well, I'll start at the beginning. So I was born, no, I'm only joking. So I've always been a very creative person, a dyslexic person, a person who naturally wasn't book smart necessarily, but really creative, always super driven, really hardworking. And I studied design, visual communications, and wanted to become a designer and own my own business one day. So I knew that from the age of 18. I was like, I actually don't really care what it is as long as I own my own business. Probably because I was a terrible employee. Terrible employee.
Can relate to that.
Can you?
Yeah, I worked for my dad. I'm sure he's got his own opinion of me as an employee.
What do you think, Gary?
Apart from cheap labour, but
well, there was a time when we had to make some pretty tough business decisions, and that's one thing I've always said. You've got to try and make business decisions and not emotional decisions. So I think, there was a couple of things that
I've been the business decision.
Did he let you go?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. One of my businesses. Yeah. It's not funny. Didn't get any warning. Picked up the phone for a board meeting.
Yeah.
Very confident in my role. Sat around the table. Lucy, you're the most expensive and not needed, so you're first to go on my own
Gary.
business. I was like, that's harsh. I'm off. See you later.
Was it fair?
Yeah, look, it's business. We talked that. I mean, I might have had a tantrum for about 5 minutes, but it's important to know that, those are the kind of decisions you have to make. It's non-emotional, right?
It's very, very true. And I find that challenging as well. I'm a very emotional person as well. And I very much kind of lead with that gut feeling. And sometimes you just have to park that, don't you? Emotions aside, think about like what is right for the business, not me personally, not my own agenda, etc. See the business as its own entity, its own person in a way, and separate the emotions. So I find that challenging too.
So tell us a story about how you've got to tell us about White Bear and kind of how that started and being the creative that you are and how it led into the role you're doing now.
Yeah. So as I mentioned, I not didn't follow a traditional path. Very much always wanted to own my own business. And I just always knew it would be something creative. So I have coming up to 20 years in brand building experience, worked in some of the biggest agencies in the world, worked in London, in Dublin, lived in Sydney for a while. And amazing, like I learned so much, but I also absolutely hated the way agencies were run. I hated the hours. You leave at 5:30 in the evening. It's like, ooh, taking a half day, are we? I hated the competitiveness. There wasn't like this team spirit. There wasn't a feeling that everyone was trying to help you shine. It was very much who had the better idea, etc. I also hated a lot of the bosses that I had in various places who were not great role models. And at one stage I was like, I've had enough. I feel like I've learned enough. I'm going to go set up my own agency and run it a different way and run it the way that I believe an agency can be run. I don't think we have to follow this old formula, old Mad Men-esque formula. So yeah, I set up White Bear, initially just me and my dog, coming up to 11 years ago now.
Amazing.
And yeah, grown it from there. Why White Bear? The name, everyone always asks me that. So I'm fascinated by psychology. And there's this American psychologist called Daniel Wegner, and he was a professor in Harvard, and he studied thought suppression. And with all of his volunteers during his trials and his tests, he asked them not to think about a white bear. And what he found was that they could not go 20 seconds without thinking about a white bear. So once that seed had been planted in their heads, they couldn't suppress that thought. And I found that really fascinating. And I was like, imagine if we could create these white bears for our clients, these ideas that their customers can't stop thinking about. And that kind of became the whole guiding light and the North Star for White Bear. Amazing. So just obsessed with ideas.
Well, that's a fantastic story, that is.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
Well, it's not the same for your inspirational name, but it's not too far off.
Business decision, that was.
You needed a creative.
There was no emotion there. It was purely business. I mean, even the way you speak about it, once you captivate your creativity, I see the sparks like super quickly. Like I can feel your energy. Yeah. I'm a big receptor for energy, and I feel it. As soon as you talk about your project, there is some big lessons in terms of like the passion and the ownership. And so how has that changed from becoming the founder, starting this business, to now, being a mother and running business, family-run business? So what does that look like? How did that change?
That's a big question, and that is probably the biggest challenge. I have a son, Sonny, who's nearly 8, and my daughter Lila's turning 4. And considering the business is nearly 11, so 2 and a bit years into running the business, I was pregnant. And I was very much thinking, what am I going to do? We finally got some clients, some lovely clients. We're building this team. This magic is happening. I'm building a business, and all of a sudden, in a few months' time, I might not be the face of that business for a while. And I think I was probably in denial of that first time round. Having my son, I was like, nope, I'm not going to take any time off. I'm a hard worker. I can do this. Just muscle through, just get on with it. So I didn't really take any maternity leave. I worked right up until the end. I was on a flight on the very last day that you're allowed to keep flying. I'm sure you recognize a lot of this. All of it, yes. And so yeah, had my son. I had a C-section, and I remember coming out of the operating room straight away onto my phone, and I was emailing a lead that had come in, and I was like, I've just had a baby, let's meet on Monday. Like, I was delusional. I was obviously still high off the morphine, but I was like, I can do this. Even a couple days, well, not a couple days, it was probably about 2 weeks after having had the section, this opportunity for a pitch for a really great job came up, and I still could barely walk. I remember ringing my mum going, I have to go to this pitch, but I can't fit in my shoes. It's like, I have no shoes that fit. Wow. Like, my legs were so swollen after having a C-section. So she came over, she was trying to help me find clothes to wear. Yeah, pretty much. I think I was wearing these like massive loafer things, like no style whatsoever. Oh, sorry, Mum. She's great style. But my husband actually wasn't part of the business at the time. He is now. He has been for the past 6 years. But I was like, will you come with me? And he was like, how can I come?
Bring your husband to work day.
I was like, say you're part of the team. So he was like, okay. So he just came along and he did the pitch with me. He's an accountant.
Amazing.
And he was fab, just having that support with you. And then we were like, this has worked really, really well, that we worked towards him joining the business in the future. But I would have fallen flat had I not got my mum there and my husband there, etc. So I took no time off, and I think I did get postnatal depression, totally overwhelmed. Yeah.
I don't know if you did any of that parts, but the reason the Mumtrepreneur was born was because of that journey I had.
Yes.
So I had postnatal depression, severe, and then I had psychosis for the second.
Yeah.
So all of those pains I feel, and what I hear from when you're talking actually is it was your title, that was your job role, that's who you were, that was your identity. And no one's taking that from you, and I can hear it when you speak about it because I recognize all the symptoms. Yeah. It's really big. It's a massive part of you. So that's but to welcome it. I think people that are listening in really want to know that's validation. Just because you have a title now, you have this responsibility of mum, doesn't mean that you're not Kelly. This is who I am. It's a title. I am still me. I can multitask. I can be a businesswoman. I can do that. Yeah, absolutely fine. I think it's really important that message comes across because people do struggle. But in terms of the business, I suppose what then transitioned with having a newborn baby, this very busy business, it's kind of starting to take off. And what were the business lessons there that Gary would love to highlight and just see how you coped, and what did you put in place, processes, and how did you go through the next few years?
One little thing on that you've just said just reminded me, we won the pitch, which was amazing, became an incredible client for us for 6 years. The day after the pitch, I remember sitting, it was like a few days before Christmas, and I couldn't wrap the Christmas presents, and I was just so overwhelmed. And you can go from being this and being that in such close proximity. So I hear what you're saying. And in terms of growing the business, what have I learned?
Well, I think it's the processes. So when you become a mum and really understand that journey, because everyone's experience is different, but just to kind of bring it to some kind of relatable experience. You become a mum, you've got this massive business, your husband's still got another job, you can't wrap the presents, you're like, oh, I've got this pitch, I've now won. That's a huge responsibility. So at some stage you start to put in some lessons that you're learning. And what were the biggest learnings on that journey to really help the listeners hear, if they're in that position, there's hope, and also what they can do to learn faster?
Yeah, take shortcuts.
I
often think there are no shortcuts because you actually learn more from those either mistakes or tough times, don't you? I think for me, having a great team, and I know everybody who's running a business doesn't have the luxury of having a team around me, but at the time I had a team of 4 amazing women who supported me so much. They were quite junior in their own careers. At one stage, I think my husband used to call me Kelly and the Cubs a little bit because they were all in their very early 20s, but they just rallied behind me so much. I moved to Ireland for a period of time when I had my son, and we had to manage remote working before COVID, before that was a thing. And my account manager was she had my days planned out for me. She had everything, she was just phenomenal. Our creative team were taking on so much responsibility. And now looking back, with that being 8 years ago, I'm like, wow, they really stepped up. So I would say getting the right people around you is so important, because I've also had the wrong people around me and how detrimental that can be.
There's a great business lesson here that you've just mentioned, and that is your skill can earn you so much money by having a good PA and allowing you to release some of that time, because they're taking that away, then that whole thing just generates more cash. Totally. So that's a great lesson, isn't it? It's getting somebody to assist you in the jobs where you can get somebody else to help you do your job better.
100%. And I'm sure, Gary, you found yourself as well that when you set up a business, you wear all the hats. I had all different email addresses. I had accounts at Wipe. All of them were me. I was applying to everything. I was the accountant, the project manager, the designer, everything. And then when you can start to offload those hats to other people and hire people who are actually better than you at all of those skills, that's when the magic really starts to happen, doesn't it?
Absolutely.
Yeah. What's the lovely saying you have, Dad? The cheapest commodity is...
Oh, yeah. The cheapest thing to buy is brains, of course. Yeah. and that's what you do. So
Yeah.
and I agree. It's you get some great people in that are better at the jobs that you're doing, because all you need to do is to understand what they're doing. You don't need to do what they're doing, because you've done that, and probably not very well. And as soon as you've done it, you go, I need somebody else in this position.
Yeah.
And that allows you to grow as a team. It's organic growth, isn't it?
100%. And
processes.
I don't know if it happened to you at all, but I find that challenging in the beginning, because I felt, I'm the owner of this business, I'm the leader, I'm supposed to know these things. And if I don't know these things, people might lose faith in me, or I might not be perceived the right way. And then once you flip your mindset into, I want to be the stupidest person in this room, I want all of these amazing people to shine and to help me grow my business. It was just this relief of like, there's a safe pair of hands minding all of these different tasks.
You need to be the dumbest person in the boardroom. Absolutely.
100%.
Yeah, it's a great business lesson, really, to do that. So.
Yeah. So now today we have a very senior team, so mostly all director level, amazing people who just get their shit done. Like I just know they have it, and I don't need to micromanage. I just need to step back and help them shine.
Yeah.
And that's a really nice place to finally get to, because with all of the hustling and the being a mom at the same time and minding the children, having White Bear in an infancy state and being another thing you have to mind is very draining. So it's lovely to offload some of those.
If you micromanage, it actually takes value away from your company.
It really does. I've learned that the hard way as well. When you're a control freak, I don't know if either of you are control freaks, but I've learned to manage that.
The thing is, if your value is then it relies on you, and you can't sell it. So my dad would say to me, you haven't got a business, Lucy, you have a job. And that was really harsh. And I was like, but I have 12 staff. He's like, you have a job, because if you go, no one knows what they're doing. So tell you what, let's learn to delegate. And I think that's so true, is like, actually as a female as well, I'm definitely have control issues, heightened by hormones. So one of my things is like, okay, but my MD would now say, oh my God, you delegate like it's no tomorrow. It's that's what you do. And that's a skill I had to be forced to learn, because I wasn't too great at it. But it's interesting to watch, because as the business charges up and your role becomes the face and the founder, and ultimately what's the exit? Are you selling? Is it a lifestyle business? And they're the decisions you have to take and work on it, not in it. And
so true. It's amazing, isn't it? I don't know if you had this moment, but I had this moment where I realized I was a slave to the business. And I was like, I can't step away. And as you said, nobody knows what you're doing. And that is just this, once you realize that, and then you plan to step out of that, and you put processes in place, and you start to treat the business like a business and not like a passion project. That's, again, when I definitely saw real growth happening. But it's also not that nice feeling on a Monday morning, having that fear.
And also a bit of bereavement. I suppose there's the fear again, but I suppose I wonder that it's a slight bereavement process. So what I would be interested to know is that journey of becoming the business as it grew at White Bear, and then allowing your husband in and working as a family business, because I am the product. So I'm going to tell you how the children may feel. You're my children's future now. I am, and I'm going to talk to you about that. We're going to have a chat about it. But I think it's interesting for Gary, because Gary obviously worked with my mother, Rita, and they built what today is widely known as City Cruises. And on that journey, bringing my mum in was like, my dad had to. And what's so interesting is Gary was the captain, my mum was the engine. And they made such a good team. And both of them wouldn't be where they are today without each other. And watching that was admirational. But it'd be interesting to see your take on how that works, and how your husband coming in and not taking it home and not talking about it at dinner.
We do that.
Oh yeah, we know it all.
Every mealtime's a board meeting, isn't it?
I know, my kids are involved.
But you have to, because it's your hobby. It's your life, isn't it?
It's very true. I mean, Dave being involved, we are just an incredible team. So my background, as I mentioned, is like, I'm creative. I have the vision for what I want White Bear to be, and I have a second business now as well. And Dave is an accountant. He's a consultant. He's a transformation expert. So he runs the ship. He's our MD, And we need him so much. We're a team of creatives. So someone like that to step in and put manners on us is like really essential. And it is that amazing support, because you know that other person couldn't be batting for you more. You could not trust that person more with anything, personal or business, that to have them in a room with you when you are maybe doing a pitch or doing a talk or whatever it might be, you know, someone's always got your back. And I think that that's real magic. I had an incident yesterday actually where I was at a pitch last week. I had an incredibly busy week. We had launches of brands we were working with. We had team dinners. We had lots on. I then flew back to Ireland because my kids were in Ireland for the weekend. So I flew back on the Friday, brought the kids to the kids' parties. I was at a 40th. I was doing all of those things, getting school uniforms ready, blah, 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 blah. 4 a.m. got up Monday morning, flight back to London. Everything that could go wrong went wrong. Gatwick Airport was closed. I got pulled aside for a search because they thought there were drugs on the plane. So it was sniffer dogs. Like everything that went wrong. So what was meant to be a 4-hour journey was a 9-hour journey. And I walked straight into the pitch rather than planning to go to the hotel, change my clothes, do all that stuff. Got up and started speaking. And about 15 minutes in, I had to say, I was like, I feel like I'm going to faint. And I couldn't believe, like, I didn't know what else to say because I was looking around the room at 8 people staring at me and my mind went totally blank. I was like, I feel really lightheaded. I think I'm going to faint. And I've never actually said that before. I just try and get on. But like Dave stood up. Dave took on. He like powered through. But the people in the room were so nice. They're like, we'll go get you a hot chocolate. Sit down and relax. And then afterwards, one person said to me, I nearly thought you strategically planned that because you were trying to show vulnerability and connection. I was like, Jesus, if I was that manipulative now. I did not strategically plan that.
But I assume that's a tactic you'll be using again.
No, I was like, if that works.
If she starts to pass out, we know her trick, Kelly.
Yeah, that's my trick. But yeah, again, having Dave there and just knowing you can tag team when one is feeling less strong than the other, it's amazing.
I think it's the same as, you know, business partners or, you know, I feel very fortunate that in my life I've come across some unbelievable people I've worked alongside and you get that yin and yang. Yeah. I think I watched with Rita and Gary and that was quite difficult because my expectations of everyone were like 200% because all I knew.
Yeah.
I didn't see any differently.
Yeah.
I thought
that's really difficult for you.
Well, I thought everyone's parents worked together. I didn't know they didn't. What do you mean your mum and dad have different jobs? They were like, I was like, well, my mum and dad go to work, but that's all we knew.
Yeah,
the whole business, we all work there, everyone.
Yeah.
So I think for us, it was slightly different, but it's an interesting dynamic, and you're right. But it also means, I think, the fear of the loss of that as well is like a bereavement. Yeah. So as your things start changing, that's an interesting look. I'm sure. So what does the future look like? And then you know, it's together, but it's a big loss. It's not like one of you loses the job. It's like we sell the business or we part own it or you get all partners. All that
stuff. And change is the only constant, isn't it? I like my 2 kiddies, it's mad. Like my daughter, we did this thing on the weekend where we were writing down like, what's your favourite fruit? What's your favourite? What means the most to Mama in the world? And my daughter Lila wrote down, work. I was like heartbroken. I was like, really? She's like, like she just thought it was funny. She's like, you're always on work calls, Mama. She's only 4. I don't think she meant it, but still that stung. It really stung. Or my son, which is quite funny. You know, when you're trying to get them to stay in bed at night and they just keep getting out of bed. We had like, you might do stars. You get a star sticker in the morning. We didn't have stars. We had shamrocks, which was quite classically Irish. But every shamrock was £1 for him. And then he could spend it at the weekend or whatever. And because we started that a few years ago, he is like, oh, you have to earn some shamrocks. If you get more shamrocks at work, does that mean? So he's always like, is this one that might bring in more shamrocks? Yeah, maybe.
It's a shamrock day.
Shamrock day, yeah. So I guess he's learning about hard work.
I love that. I mean, we're really honest in our household about, because actually I used work as a coping mechanism for my breakdown. So I realised my purpose and drive, and I really did a lot of psychological work on who Lucy Beckwith is, and really understanding actually that's what kept me going. I wasn't sure if it was the children that saved my business or the business that saved me, but ultimately it was really powerful in my, I suppose, coping strategy. Actually, interestingly, Gary had the same experience at the same, very similar age. But looking back on that now, going through business, what's really interesting is we meet women, especially women, because they're a little bit more emotional about it, with raising business and babies, and finding that the parallels between parenthood and business are quite similar. Have you identified some of those traits that you do in business as well as at home?
Well, fake it till you make it, really. You're handed this baby and you're sent off out into the world, and you're like, how do I not like damage this child? How do I make sure like you're not trained for that in any way, shape or form. You kind of you try to emulate the parts of your childhood that you really value, and you try to do that. You try to learn from books, etc. Sometimes you feel like you're talking to your child like an encyclopedia, because you saw something in some book that says you must act like this or act like that, and you actually forget who you are. And I think it's a bit similar with running a business as well. Initially, I just used to, my mantra as well was say yes and then find out how. So
Richard Branson, wasn't it? Say yes and then learn how to. That's what he said.
I must have got that from him then, because I did read his book many moons ago. So yes, I would say yes and find out how. So, oh, you want us to do a shoot? Yeah, we do that. Like, does anyone know a photographer? Oh yes. So very similar. It's that not being scared of the unknown and being comfortable, being uncomfortable. I think very similar. What did you find yourself?
I think that I actually found the mundane parts that I'm really bad at. So I have ADHD. I'm really highly functional. So my brain front lobule is not very organized. And I think what I found was the mundane processes that business teaches you, the bits I really struggle with, are actually what made parenthood. So I didn't actually raise my son for 10 months of his life. My dad did. And I remember coming home vividly, and my son was about 5 months, and my uncle, my dad's brother, decided to come visit. And this baby did not stop crying. And I was like, oh no. Where's the off switch? Dad had gone to an event which he'd given up his whole life to sacrifice to help. And I rang him, and I rang him 50 times, like, Dad, Alfie will not stop crying. You need to come home. He's like, calm down, I'm on my way. Gets in, does the same process he's done every single day, 8 times a day. And he stopped crying. And I was like, at that moment then I was like, this is the bit you have to learn. Yeah. This is the process. This is the bit. I've always been slightly, I suppose, creative.
Ether helped. No?
Ether.
Yeah. I mean, just it's the process you go through with. What can you give them? Whiskey. You run through all those kind of things.
That was helpful. Yeah, on it. I think that was my learning. But interestingly, as now full circle, as we went through the business and the sale and kind of new businesses, and it changes, because you don't really sell a business. What you do is convert what you've got into something else, and then you invest in something else. Because if you're an entrepreneur, you're entrepreneurial. There is zero chance if I said to you, imagine your life in 20 years, you're going to be like, oh, I'd be on a beach and the kids will be growing up and their partners will be like, absolutely not. Let me show you your life in 20 years. You'll be stressed, you'll be juggling, you'll be helping their businesses and life. Because looking at it from Rita and Gary, that's exactly what happens.
It never stops.
It doesn't, it can't. It's a feeling.
Yeah, I remember a good few years ago, I was at an event and I met the CEO of an agency I really admired. Hundreds of staff, global business. And I was just like, oh my God, he's like, this guy is it a sir? He hasn't been knighted. It's like a sir or whatever those terms are. I can't remember. And I was like, oh my God, he's amazing. And I went up and I was like, what is your secret? Like, you've had this phenomenal business growth. And he's like, still at the same event as you, aren't I? And I was like, yeah. And he was like, what are you doing here? I was like, looking for business. What are you doing here? He's like, looking for business. He's like, it never stops. It's not like you just one day go, I've achieved it. I've achieved my goals and now I stop. I think once you're an entrepreneur or a business owner, you just always are.
I think I find that in my lessons for myself and reflection, actually, and I used to see it with Gary, is that there was no markers. The KPIs we'd set for staff, you don't set for yourself. No. Being a mum and being, sounds ridiculous to most people listening in, but actually going to school events and assemblies and rehearsals and things, making their costumes. I was obsessed with making their costumes. I'm terrible at making the costumes. But they were like, did you did you make that? I was like, yes, I did. I'm really proud of it. Please don't comment. Because for me, that was stuff my mum and dad didn't do.
Yeah.
So it was really like my KPIs were different as a mum. Not doing the school run every day. It wasn't, I'm not functionally good at that job. I'm terrible in the mornings.
Yeah.
So, my partner does that and that's his role and he thrives in it. He's not stressed like I am. So I think for me, looking through having KPIs in motherhood and business, otherwise you go past them.
Yeah.
And you don't even realise.
So true. I also think like when you're the owner of the business, you don't get feedback.
Never.
You're spending all your time giving others feedback, praising others, which is amazing. That's what we do. And like with my team, we do one-to-ones weekly where we go and have coffees or we go and have lunch. You're constantly giving feedback to people on how they're doing. But when you own the business, nobody gives you feedback.
It's lonely being a CEO, isn't it?
It is.
Very lonely.
Isn't it?
It's not lonely being a managing director because you're at the coalface and you're working constantly. Yeah. But the CEO, that's the lonely part.
Any tips on how to make that less lonely?
Yeah, there are. Yeah. I mean, we're building a business community because of exactly that point. So, we're building it on 3 stages. So, the early part of the entrepreneurship, the first part of the journey. The second part is building the infrastructure, getting all the processes in place, everything that should have been done in the first stage, making sure it's done in stage 2. And then number 3 really is concentrating on a CEO adding value to the company and planning for the exit strategy or succession. Succession and death is exactly the same thing when you're in business. You think about it, you've got to build succession. Somebody dies, you've got to build succession.
Yeah.
And we all die and we all pay taxes. They're the only 2 things that we're sure about.
That's very true. I started building a second business. It's in its infancy. It's only a year old now. And I built it very selfishly because of that loneliness. Like London can be a really lonely city. Yeah. Everybody is working so hard. You might have X amount of followers on Instagram or on LinkedIn, but do you actually have someone you can pick up the phone to and be like, I'm really struggling with this, or can you give me advice on that? I personally didn't. As a mum who didn't really go out much in the evenings because I had young kids, I wasn't really socializing with people much. As an owner of a business, they weren't my peers. So the people I worked with every day weren't my peers who I would ask for advice. So I set up this business called People Like Me. And it was to find that, bridge that gap. I have my like old school friends who have been around forever, don't live in London. I have my colleagues in my profession, but I don't have that gap in the middle. People who get what I'm doing on a daily basis, but aren't in the business, and people who are not strangers. So like friends, but understand my industry. So I started doing these small breakfasts just to get to know more women, really. I'd invite 9 strangers and the 10 of us would have breakfast or dinner together. And that became really valuable because I personally hate big events. I don't talk to people. I look at my phone. I'm terrible. I could go to an event with thousands of people and meet nobody because it's just too much. Or have people just talk at you from a stage, and again, you're not meeting real people. So I wanted to set up this type of breakfast where you just like pull down the mask, just be yourself. Like, I have no agenda. I don't want to get business out of you. I don't want to, any agenda at all. Let's just connect. And that's been really nice. And we've really grown that community now that we meet monthly for breakfast. We're starting to do evening events now as well. And it's really brought in like-minded people. And what I found with the more women that I meet is they're like, I go to networking events, but it's not my people. They're not my people. They're not people like me. So that's kind of where the name came from. It's just about like finding your people and helping put people together who connect.
I think it's so important. Like, that's a really good lesson to learn as well. Is that business one doesn't mean, I can only relate to what Gary went through really, but Gary started selling diesel. I remember vividly, I said to him, how do you sell this empire with all these boats and, in multiple sites in the UK? He looked at me square in the eye at the top of the brow with all these boats on a still day in the summer and said, Lucy, I started selling diesel. And I was like, wow, the transition from what you start with White Bear, in 30 years' time, you might sell something very different because your journey changes, the opportunity arises. Yeah. And actually that is business, being entrepreneurial and also finding your place. I really struggled with those accidentally, I didn't realize that same with you, right? School friends were doing their thing, they were all employed. I met one friend that had a business who I was like, for the first time in my life, I was like, I can actually talk to you about like licensing, like paying fees to the council. Like I could whinge about something because you get it, but I would never thrust that upon my group. It's not for any reason they would listen, but it's just a different understanding. And when they're moaning about their boss, I'm always like, well, let's just think about your boss. Your boss got the energy, and they're like, whose team are you on? I'm like, yours, but I just want to try and give you. So I think when you start to feel a community, it's really important. It's part of a support mechanism that we talk about. Being a mumtrepreneur for me has really been about the people. Yeah. And I think once you find those group, I can bring them. It could be like months, and guys less than girls, because guys are like, you talk to them once a year and they have no care in the world. Whereas girls need a little bit more attention. Yeah. But my guy friends,
we are emotional.
Yeah. Yeah.
You just suppress it.
Just just don't cry as much as I do.
Bottle it up.
But I think it's that feeling, and doing Mumtrepreneur I feel like such a gift. I feel so lucky to be able to speak to people like you who have been on an amazing journey and share that story. I think it's such a nice platform to be able to tell other people and inspire other people. Yeah. I don't think people understand. The people we've had on the show, they've always been people I've worked with or known and never been able to share that journey. Is so inspiring. And I don't think you realise how inspiring, just from going from a marketing big beast of an agency. There might be someone there as a junior sitting there today thinking, I'd love to do that. And they fall pregnant at 26 and they're like, well, what am I going to do? I've got a baby. Not possible. Yeah. Well, actually, it's possible.
Yeah, 100%. And I think in my industry as well, caveat, most of my friends do actually own their own businesses. We're all bananas together, but none of them are in the creative world like me. And in my industry, there's only 1% female business owners. And there's only 17% creative directors who are women. Yeah. So it's just so male dominated.
Glass ceiling everywhere, isn't it?
Glass ceiling everywhere. Yeah. Why do the women leave? There's 65%, I think, is the divide of women and men studying design. So 65% are women. But where do they all go? Why do none of them own businesses? So yeah, if I can inspire any of those to feel like they can do that, I mean, I've succeeded.
We're going to close out, but I think I'd really like to know, from your point of view, in terms of if there were changes, because we're trading in the UK place at this moment, if there are changes in the creative industry and your background with, the big brands and hospitality and working with like some huge clients across the field, what changes would you like to see in an entrepreneurial kind of business development as a country that we could really harness in on for the creatives, and what would that look like?
Agencies could really do a lot more with a lot more support on the financial side. Obviously, I'm very lucky that we have Dave, who's an accountant and helps us. But I've seen that to be a massive gap where agencies fall down because they're so creative. And then the actual keeping the lights on is very challenging. And what I found is that a lot of agencies find it very difficult to define the impact their work has, to talk about it commercially. And I think support in that instance is for creative businesses to know how to run them as businesses and not passion projects would be.
I'd see if you started that today in 10 years, it'd be very different. I feel like we need to start a course called Be More Dave.
Be More Dave.
With Be More Dave.
You need to get Dave on here.
I'll get Dave on.
What would Dave do?
What would Dave do is going to be my new motto.
Yeah, it's funny. We're a small but mighty team, and we're like, we just all have our names or whatever, and then we just call Dave from accounts.
Dave from accounts. Dave from
need to get on to Dave from accounts.
Listen, I'm going to make Dave a superstar. I think he sounds like a legend. Thank you so much for joining us. It was really lovely. Time's gone too quick. Yes. We'll definitely get you on for another visit and
Thank
explore
you so
some
much.
of those courses.
It's been really lovely. Not at all.
Yeah,
Thank you.
well done. Well done. It's been really good fun.
Well, Kelly's amazing. I love the white bear story. Interesting that the name has such a strong meaning, because white bear doesn't mean anything to anyone. But once now I'm obsessed. Now all I think about is white bear.
Well, I suppose that's what happens, is that, you say that to children, don't go near the fire. And the first thing the kids do is they want to be a devil, don't they? That's what happens, isn't it? You say to somebody, don't think of so-and-so, then the reverse happens. But it's great psychology, isn't it?
Well, yeah, because now I want to tell everyone the story about the name.
Yeah.
So it's very smart business choice of name.
And I suppose being in that kind of line of work where you're not making a widget, but the business lessons are still the same. So, 80% of everything everybody does is about running the business, and the other 20% or less is whether you make widgets or you're into marketing or you're into transport or whatever. So that's always interesting.
What an amazing story. I mean, it's interesting for us because I suppose you had exactly the same journey. I haven't, but you've had that journey where you saw mum's skill and then you thought, she's got to come and sort out my wire paper basket drawer on my desk of filing.
Well, I prefer to call it was my filing system.
Your filing system.
It was my filing system. Admittedly, it was early on, so I hadn't perfected it, but I was kind of getting there.
But I suppose recognising that your skill set around you, and actually what I'm hearing Kelly say is that the support mechanisms were massive. Her mum stepped in with she had the baby, and she went to there with, her husband. And actually, I think with those learnings, it doesn't matter if it's the hired team, the professional team, but it's the support mechanism that allows the entrepreneur to fly. And that's what makes creative decisions and to make big leaps while the business needs all these people. Because without that safety net, it's really hard. And without being a mum, but without that safety net, or the feeling of the safety net, it's so hard to function.
So the business lessons, really, I'm just recapping here really early on, is she made the decision to leave a safe job and go into an environment where she was in control. And then the pain comes as you're growing. See, that's when you make a lot of the business decisions, and you learn a lot when you're doing that. And then taking on the husband to help you run the business. So now it's a family business, and the kids are now automatically part of that business, because every single meal becomes a board meeting. And then learning how you're going on, making when you're going and pitching to other companies to get new business. So new business, and then deciding how you're going to run that business when you're back at base. Starting the other thing, because being a CEO is lonely. So that's quite a nice little lesson to learn, wasn't it? How do I get help? But I don't really want help, but yes, I do. So I quite like that little story. That was quite valuable. I think there's a really good lesson for everybody.
One of the lessons as well is actually looking back and saying, I do this business is successful in whatever success means for you, by the way. That could be whether that's choice of time or gets to live in Ireland more. That could be the choice. But I think what's interesting is that as an entrepreneur, you still have a passion project, because that's really, really normal for a serial entrepreneur to have this little, it's something new, it's exciting, doesn't burn it's not too painful, but actually that's normal. Normalizing the fact that, you're like one business, one job. And you're like, well, actually, the reason I don't do one job is because I'm entrepreneurial. And having the comfort of building something that's good for your soul, that's come through pain. And she clearly feels strongly enough.
And there's still loads of things that there's still lessons out there. And I suppose that maybe, we've spoken about this before, success managers, people who look after their clients once they become a client, psychometric testing the staff, looking at the job descriptions and making sure every single thing is written down as a job description. So getting it ready for sale, whether that be succession, dying, or for sale, or whatever.
I think that's the lesson. Always be ready for sale.
Always be
ready. And that
ready.
Means that you've processed their foundations there. And that's the learning you took. That took you 73 years ish. I just feel so lucky, Dad. So many amazing people out there. I mean, women in particular, because I relate to them so well, but raising business and babies, and it's tough for both. And they're doing it together.
That's what I like, that Kelly understood adding value, how important it is to add value to the company and getting a great team around you. And that's always a great message anyway in business, is always get a great team around you.
Kelly and the Cubs.
Kelly and the Cubs.